just filmed a couple videos and realized I didn't even address the newest addition to my shelves here. This is the wand that I got at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter that we just went to earlier this month. And we went to Ollivander's, obviously, and me and my two girls got wands. And we definitely did the wand picks the wizard type thing. So we looked at the options. We picked the ones that were kind of calling to us, and then they got those wands for us, and we got to see whose wand it was that we picked. This was mine, and this is George Weasley's wand. Of course, I got a Weasley, right? Because Ron is my favorite character. So super awesome. Layla got Arthur Weasley's wand, so that was pretty cool. And then Kaylin got Pavarti Patel. So pretty cool. Haven't gotten a stand yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to get one or just leave it the way it is. It looks kind of cool in the display box, but we'll see. Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I wanted to do an update on all of the books that are off of the Great American Reads list that I read in 2019. And I have been thinking about doing an update for this, and I just hadn't filmed it yet, honestly. And then I thought it would be fun to do it every year, you know, talking about all of the books that I read the previous year, because this is an overarching life goal for myself that I want to read all 100 books that are on this list. Some of them I have read in the past. I don't plan to reread very many of them. Some of them I actually do want to reread, but not very many. And so I am keeping track every year of which ones I have read. So basically I printed out the list, and I will include a link to the list down below if you want to see it. But I printed this out, and then I'm highlighting different colors every year. So all of the blue highlights are ones that I read before this list came out. So I've already read them. I'm good on those. The purple are books that I read in 2019, and then for 2020, I'm going to use pink. So just every year, I'm using different colors to signify when I read those books. So starting out, let's see, before the Great American Read list came out, this is the list of 100 books that are most loved by American readers. Basically, not necessarily best books of all time, but when people voted and talked about their favorite books, these are the top 100 that showed up. Okay, so this list came out in 2018, in the summer of 2018, and I went through and I highlighted everything that I had already read, and then I did read some in 2018 as well. So total 2018 and before, I read 32 of these books. So that's pretty good. That's not quite half, but that's a decent amount, right? Just about a third, I would say. And then for 2019, I read 9 of them, one of those being a reread. So I will talk about the 9 books that I read in 2019, and I'm just going to go, they're in alphabetical order, so I'm just going to go in that way. So the first one is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, and I loved this book so much. I have seen the TV series, the entire thing. I watched the entire show before I picked up this first book. For me, I think that really helped me to be able to understand the concept of this world and to know the characters. There are so many characters that you're following, and each character is in a different point in a different, place in this world. And so knowing the background already with the show, it really helped. And this is pretty much season 1. Like nothing big was changed, which I appreciated. So absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I thought the writing was brilliant. The writing was much easier to understand than I was anticipating, which I really appreciated. And I love the story big time. The next one is Ghost by Jason Reynolds. This is a book that I checked out from the library. And this follows a young boy who is struggling with some situations he's dealing with at home. He's having a hard time with some things that are happening there. And you follow him also in school and trying to stay out of trouble, but he's not doing a very good job. And he ends up getting onto a track team that helps him to get a little bit of discipline. And he really connects to the coach there, and the coach really helps him out and kind of helps him straighten some things out in his life and all that. And it was good. It was I believe this is kind of classified as middle grade, like higher middle grade. And I enjoyed it. I really like Jason Reynolds' writing. He writes really great characters, and his stories are always very entertaining. So I did like this one. I gave it 4 stars. And then I read Hatchet by Gary Paulson. This was another middle grade book, or actually it's more young adult. I would say more young adult. It's a survival story. It's about a young boy who is on an airplane, like a private airplane or a single person airplane or 2 people or whatever. A pilot is taking him to see his dad, I think. His parents are in the middle of divorce, so he's taking him to see his dad. And the pilot has a heart attack and the plane goes down over the wilderness in Canada. So our main character, Brian, is literally having to survive in the wilderness by himself as a 13-year-old boy. So I enjoyed it. I didn't love it as much as everyone else does, and I don't really know why I had a little bit of a disconnect from it. But there were definitely some really good parts. I loved how resourceful he was and how he came up with the things that he needed to do in order to survive. I thought that was really interesting. So I gave it 3 stars. It still wasn't like the best thing ever for me, but it was good. Okay, this next one is going to be a very unpopular opinion, but that's Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. And I didn't really enjoy this book, you guys. I gave it 3 stars. I understand why people really like it. Just for me, I felt like it was so long and I just didn't feel like it needed to be that long. I did not like the love interest and where things ended with that at all. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I didn't love it. And I know that that's not popular, and I understand that. And I have to live with that. I have to live with myself for not loving Little Women. I don't care about the adaptations. I don't plan on watching any of them. I don't know. This isn't a story that resonates with me, and I'm not really sure why. It just doesn't. But I did read it, so I gave it 3 stars. The next one was Looking for Alaska by John Green. Didn't like this one either. I gave this one 2 stars. I could not stand Alaska as a character. The entire time I wanted to tell her to just shut up. I don't know. I felt like she was just so over dramatic about everything. And the things that were actually happening in her life were really not that bad. And I'm sitting there watching a bunch of teenagers make really stupid decisions and then be surprised when they got in trouble. Okay. So I didn't love it. And this book actually made me kind of realize that I don't think John Green is going to be the author for me anymore. And so I don't plan on picking up any more of his books. I just don't like his characters. They all drive me nuts. And then I read Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Oh, this book was boring. I did it. I listened to it. If I were reading it physically, I don't know that I would have made it through it. But the audiobook helped. I was able to push my way through it. Now, this one follows a whale named Moby Dick, or that's what he's called. And he's a white whale. He was defending himself and took the leg of a fisherman at one point. And so that fisherman is now trying to get revenge and trying to find him. And, there's a lot of references about, oh, he's the white whale, this is this person's white whale. Like, you're always searching for it and, all that stuff. So I'm getting all those references now, but it was so boring. I didn't care most of the time. I liked the part where the whale and the fisherman had their interaction, but that was not a whole lot of the book. There wasn't a whole lot about it. There was also some pretty interesting things about whales in general and how whales are used and things like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But everything else was just so boring and I didn't care. So I gave this one 2 stars. I really wanted to really like it the way some people do, but I understand why a lot of people don't like it. It was just boring, honestly. I think if it had just stuck to the main point of the whale and the fisherman, and like that was the book, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But there was so much extra stuff in there that was not even related to the story that I didn't know why was in there. So yeah, 2 stars. Let's go on a little higher note here, and I reread The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This is a reread for me, like I just said. I did read this in high school and loved it in high school. I remember loving this book in high school, and I love the movie as well. And I had never read it as an adult, though. So reading it again as an adult last year was fantastic, and I loved it just as much. I really did. I really loved this book. These characters are so iconic, and they are characters that stick with you. Just the way they're written, you really, really feel for them. And they almost feel like part of your family. And so when something bad happens to them, you get upset and it makes you mad. But I loved it. I loved it so much. And for such a short book, it made a really big impact. And I think that's something that's really hard to do. So loved it. And then the next one that I read was another 5-star book, and that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This book was so haunting, and it follows a woman who meets a man, and they end up getting married. He takes her back to his house, which is a little bit of a famous house that a lot of people know about. And the reason for that is that it's very elaborate. It's a really huge estate. It's very well known. And then the man's former wife, Rebecca, passed away. So, there's lots of rumors about that, and, there's lots of things kind of in the wind about that type of stuff. So our main character goes and she marries him, and he takes her back. And so she is dealing with trying to move into this new to her house. And there are people who are on his staff who loved Rebecca and feel like she's trying to take her place. And they're not very welcoming of that because they loved Rebecca so much. And so she's constantly being compared to Rebecca. So, yep. Things happen, and this has been said to be kind of one of the first maybe psychological thrillers that was really just shocked people and really messed with your brain, and I loved it. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and this is one I would definitely reread again at some point, and I definitely want to read more from this author now. And then the last one that I read in 2019 is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. I didn't love this one either. This is another 2-star. I just thought it was boring. Like nothing happened. Really, truly nothing happened. I guess it was more of a character study than anything, which is fine, but I didn't care about the characters that much because nothing was happening to them that I really cared about. There was a cool bullfighting scene at one point, but that was kind of it. And if there's only really one scene in the entire book that I'm enjoying, it's not that great. So I gave it 2 stars. I understand the appeal of Ernest Hemingway, and it was written, like his writing was really good. So there's no denying that the man could write. I just didn't care about this story at all. So 2 stars. Okay, guys, so those are all of the books from the Great American Read List that I read in 2019. There were 9 in total, and I'll do another update of this after 2020 is over and let you know what I read in 2020, but I do have some plans to read some of these books, so I'm excited about that. But let me know down below, number 1, if you guys are planning to read the books on the Great American Reads List. Do you guys have any plans to do that? Number 2, if you are, like, how's that going? And if you read any of the books that I have talked about in this video, let me know what your thoughts were as well. And I will see you guys again very soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.